International Women's Day is not being treated as a symbolic moment at Chelsea FC, but as a strategic checkpoint in a longer institutional journey. With the theme Every Woman, Every Girl, Every Season, the club is positioning gender equality not as a campaign, but as a structural priority. The language is deliberate. Seasons suggest continuity, cycles, and evolution. In football terms, it signals that this commitment is not tied to headlines, but to sustained progression. That distinction matters in a sport still negotiating its cultural transformation. Chelsea's messaging goes beyond celebration and enters the terrain of accountability. By stating that it is taking demonstrable action, the club implicitly acknowledges that visibility without measurable progress is no longer enough. In a football industry under increasing scrutiny over equity and representation, intention must translate into infrastructure. That includes policy, programming, leadership pathways, and internal culture. The public narrative, therefore, becomes part of a broader institutional positioning. There is also a clear understanding of football's influence beyond the pitch. When a club of Chelsea's global scale aligns its brand with empowerment, it sends signals across commercial, community, and sporting ecosystems. Sponsors, academies, grassroots organizations, and fans interpret that alignment. In a competitive European landscape, social credibility increasingly intersects with sporting identity. Chelsea appears conscious that leadership in women's football requires leadership in values. The strategic framing suggests that the club is not merely reacting to International Women's Day, but using it as leverage. By building a week of activities leading into the date, Chelsea extends the narrative window. The focus shifts from a single day to an integrated campaign cycle. That continuity reinforces legitimacy. In modern football communications, repetition over time is what converts statements into culture. The Chelsea Foundation's #Give to Gain initiative reveals how empowerment is being operationalized at grassroots level. The concept is simple yet structurally powerful: honor those who paved the way while encouraging the next generation to contribute forward. This dual-direction model, gratitude and responsibility, creates continuity between past and future. It moves empowerment from abstraction into lived experience. That shift is essential for long-term cultural change. The intergenerational workshop at Cobham was more than symbolic participation. By bringing together walking footballers, university students, and Inspire Her program members, the foundation engineered mentorship through proximity. Football environments often replicate hierarchy. Here, hierarchy was intentionally softened. The act of writing pledges created personal accountability. Sharing those pledges created communal ownership. The presence of Sam Kerr and Kadisha Buchanan elevated the session from workshop to moment. Their involvement bridged elite performance with community reality. In doing so, Chelsea reinforced a message: visibility matters. When global players engage directly with participants, aspiration becomes tangible. That connection strengthens the pathway narrative between grassroots engagement and professional ambition. From a strategic perspective, expanding #Give to Gain across health and well-being, education, community, and future strand signals scalability. This is not a one-off activation but a replicable framework. The broader the distribution, the deeper the cultural embedding. Chelsea is effectively turning empowerment into curriculum. That institutional layering differentiates initiative from event. Empowerment Network. While public-facing initiatives generate visibility, internal reform determines credibility. Chelsea's Women's Empowerment Network, launched last year, reflects an awareness that empowerment must also function within corporate structures. Creating a space for women in the organization to connect and address workplace issues suggests structural maturity. Football businesses historically focused outward before looking inward. Chelsea appears to be reversing that order. The first anniversary discussion panel on women's health represents a nuanced step forward. Women's health in football workplaces remains under-discussed, particularly in high-performance environments. Addressing it openly reframes inclusion from symbolic representation to practical well-being. That move signals an evolution from diversity optics to operational support. It also aligns with broader shifts in sports science and workforce culture. By inviting esteemed guests to contribute insight, the club reinforces legitimacy through expertise. Knowledge-sharing environments reshape institutional norms over time. They influence hiring, retention and leadership pipelines. When conversations expand beyond participation to sustainability, empowerment gains depth. Chelsea's approach suggests it is attempting to normalize these conversations rather than isolate them. There is also a competitive dimension to this internal work. Elite football clubs compete not only for players but for talent across medical, analytical, and administrative roles. A genuinely inclusive environment strengthens recruitment appeal. In that sense, gender equality is both ethical commitment and strategic asset. Chelsea's internal reforms may prove as impactful as its external messaging. The launch video featuring players, fans, staff, and foundation participants functions as narrative consolidation. It binds community, performance, and identity into one visual statement. In contemporary football culture, storytelling is as powerful as results. Clubs that articulate a coherent social narrative often build stronger emotional loyalty. Chelsea appears aware of this dynamic. Importantly, the messaging avoids isolating women's football as a separate project. Instead, empowerment is integrated into the broader Chelsea ecosystem. That integration strengthens legitimacy. It positions the women's team not as a parallel initiative but as central to club identity. In a market where women's football is rapidly professionalizing, integration signals seriousness. From a reputational standpoint, sustained campaigns around equality influence global perception. Supporters across continents increasingly evaluate clubs on values as well as trophies. For Chelsea, reinforcing its commitment publicly helps future-proof its brand. It aligns the club with social momentum rather than historical inertia. That alignment may carry long-term commercial dividends. There is also a cultural recalibration underway in football at large. As federations and governing bodies invest in women's competitions, clubs that embed equality early may lead the next phase of growth. Chelsea's current positioning suggests it aims to remain at the forefront of that evolution. The narrative is proactive, not reactive. The broader consequence of these initiatives lies in normalization. When empowerment is embedded across academy programs, community projects, and corporate networks, it becomes standard practice rather than seasonal emphasis. That is the transition every club faces. Symbolic gestures create awareness, structural integration creates legacy. Chelsea appears to be attempting the latter. For young girls engaging with the foundation, visibility of elite players and structured mentorship expands perceived possibility. Representation changes ambition. Over time, that may influence participation rates, talent development, and fan engagement. The ripple effect can extend far beyond a single campaign week. Football ecosystems grow when pathways feel accessible. Internally, sustained focus on women's well-being and professional support may alter leadership dynamics. Empowered environments often produce more diverse decision-making. In high-performance industries like football, diverse perspectives can enhance resilience and innovation. If embedded effectively, Chelsea's network initiatives could influence governance culture in measurable ways. Ultimately, the success of this campaign will not be measured by engagement metrics alone, but by continuity. The theme "Every Woman, Every Girl, Every Season" sets a high bar. It implies that empowerment must persist across competitive cycles, commercial shifts, and organizational change. If Chelsea sustains this trajectory, International Women's Day may serve less as celebration and more as annual proof of progress.